everyone, welcome to another episode of the Global Health Pharmacist podcast. How has your week been so far? Yes, this is the first day of the week. Technically, it's the beginning of the working week, but then it sets the tone for the week, right? So I hope that you had a nice day. Well, if the day hasn't been good, don't worry. There's still 4 more days to go in the working week, and I'm sure that your week will end up being fine. Okay, and I wish you a nice week going forward. It's not too early to wish that, is it? Anyway, July, which is the month we are almost done with, is Fibroid Awareness Month. Did you know that? Well, if you didn't, you're in the right place, because today I'm about to tell you all you have to know about uterine fibroids. If you're a woman, please come closer, and if you're a man, please send this episode to the women in your life. Okay, you see, uterine fibroids, or fibroids for short, have been around for decades, for a long time, but a lot of people are not really aware of it, or what it is, okay, or how to treat it. Yeah, that is why Fibroid Awareness Month was started. Actually, it is to be observed throughout the month of July of every year to raise awareness on uterine fibroids. And these fibroids are non-cancerous growths of the uterus, which affects millions of women worldwide. This month actually shines spotlight on fibroid, which is a commonly misunderstood health condition, so as to improve the understanding of people about it, to reduce stigma, and also to advocate for better care and treatment options. Okay, statistics shows that about 61% of women are unaware of treatment for fibroid. Okay, also about 70% of women worldwide actually are misdiagnosed and are recommended to go through unnecessary surgical operations, and over 50% of women worldwide actually experience fibroids. Uterine fibroids affects as many as 70 to 80% of women by the age of 50. Look at the statistics. That's a large number, right? But a lot of them are often undiagnosed or misdiagnosed for years, and it is higher in Black women, which is why this month is very important for women. Okay, see, these fibroids, they are benign growths, that is, they're non-cancerous, like I said, and they form in or around the uterus. Medically, they are called myomas or leiomyomas. They are common and affect many women of reproductive age. They often go undiagnosed because we attribute their symptoms to other causes. And fibroids grow on or within the inner lining of the uterus. They are made up of smooth muscle cells and connective tissues. These growths range in size from very small, less than a quarter of an inch, to very large, the size of a grapefruit. They develop as a single growth or sometimes in clusters. Alright, even though fibroids are non-cancerous, they can cause uncomfortable symptoms and lead to more serious health complications when left untreated. A lot of women, some experience heavy menstrual bleeding due to the fibroids, some excruciating pain, others it's fatigue, and in some it causes fertility issues. Now, how do you identify fibroids? This is talking about the symptoms. Although fibroids may actually grow without causing any symptoms, but they still interact with the quality of life depending on the size and location. So the most common symptoms include the heavy menstrual bleeding, frequent urination, because depending on the size of the fibroid, if it is very big, it can press on the bladder, which causes urinary frequency or urgency. Sometimes constipation results. Some growths also press against the rectum, making it difficult to have bowel movement. So in order to deal with the symptoms, you have to drink water and eat fiber-rich fruits. Okay, also it could cause discomfort during intercourse because they are known to cause pain. So pain during sex could occur. And there's also pelvic pain and pressure. Some people experience dull ache or sharp pain in the lower abdomen, or in the pelvis because of these fibroids. Even this pain may radiate to the lower back, to the buttocks or legs. All these symptoms I've listed are not enough for you to judge by yourself that you have fibroids, or for somebody close to you to tell you that they experience the same symptoms and so you must have the same condition they do. You understand? They have to be diagnosed by your healthcare provider because these symptoms can overlap with other conditions. So how do you diagnose fibroids? Fibroids can be diagnosed by your physician or gynecologist, okay? Based on your symptoms, they take your medical history, they perform some physical examinations, all right? They do, your abdominal pelvic scan to be able to ascertain that it's fibroid. Now, talking about treatment options, they disrupt hormones, so you might need some hormonal medications, you might need some anti-hemorrhage medications to stop the heavy bleeding. Then pain medications, over-the-counter pain meds. They are used to relieve mild fibroid symptoms like pain, like cramping, but these medications just treat the symptoms. Most times the fibroids are left like that. You just have to manage it and treat the symptoms. But in cases where they are so big, then you may have to undergo a minimally invasive procedure called uterine fibroid embolization. Okay, it is performed by experienced gynecologist who has made the judgment that you actually need the procedure and carries it out with utmost care. A lot of people go under the knife when they actually do not need it. That is why you should see qualified and experienced specialists who can make the appropriate decisions about whether your fibroid should be managed or operated upon. Okay, so these are the basic things you should know about fibroid. And talking about things to know about fibroid, there are a lot of myths about it, okay? And I love breaking myths on this podcast. So I just want to break a few myths about fibroid so that you can get the facts and not just the fiction, okay, about this issue. The first is that fibroids are cancerous. I've mentioned it just now that fibroids are benign. They are non-cancerous, okay? They can cause symptoms, but they are not cancerous growth. I've talked about cancers a lot on this podcast, and you know that cancers are the ones that can metastasize, okay? They can leave their areas of primary growth to other areas, depriving those cells of essential nutrients, causing a lot of symptoms. But fibroids are not one of those. Then, some believe that fibroids always cause symptoms. No, not all women experience noticeable symptoms. When the symptoms occur, I've mentioned them, they can include bleeding, like everyone's, pelvic pain or pressure, but not everybody experiences symptoms. That is why you need to do your health checks from time to time as a woman, do abdominal pelvic scan, because sometimes you may have this fibroid without symptoms, all right? Then there's another myth that fibroids only affect older women. No. The statistics says that about 70 to 80% of women will have fibroids by the age of 50. But that doesn't say that it's only people 50 and above that would experience fibroids, okay? Fibroids can develop at any point during a woman's reproductive years. And they are even more common in women in their 30s and 40s. Another one is that fibroids disappear after menopause. This is not true because fibroids don't always disappear after menopause. If you're undergoing hormone replacement therapy, for example, medications may cause new fibroids to develop, in fact. So, some women can still require treatment for fibroids even after menopause. And there are many treatments available, like I've mentioned, okay? So, like I said, it's a case-by-case basis. There's no blanket thing. That is why you always have to see your healthcare provider, because your case may actually be different from your mother's or your sister's or your friend. Another myth is that hysterectomy is the only treatment, that is the surgical removal of the uterus. It is an option, okay, for very numerous fibroids, that blocked the fallopian tubes, that have covered the uterus. But that is not the only treatment. There are different sizes and different types of fibroids, okay? I've mentioned it. So there are different procedures that can be used to treat fibroid. I also mentioned that medications can be used depending on the size of the fibroids and the location. So removal of the uterus is not the only option. That is in extreme cases, okay? Another myth is that fibroids always lead to infertility. No, this is not true. Because while fibroids can sometimes make it more difficult to conceive or carry a pregnancy to term, many women with fibroids have successful pregnancies. I've told you that a lot of women actually have these fibroids, but it will not affect the growth of their baby as long as it doesn't disrupt their hormones. It's not too large that it will affect the growth of the fetus in the uterus. A lot of women have fibroids and still go ahead to carry their pregnancy to term, giving birth to healthy babies. Another myth is that fibroids will always grow back after treatment. No, this is not true. New fibroids can develop. Even that is not a certainty, and the likelihood varies in different women, okay? But the fact remains that some women may never experience regrowth of fibroid after treatment because we differ from one another in terms of genetics, in terms of body types, and all of that. And lastly, the myth that diet can cure fibroids is not true because there is no evidence. You know that as scientists, we base our facts on research, okay? And as of today, there is no evidence that dietary changes alone can cure fibroids. Healthy diet, of course, can contribute to the overall well-being and may help manage symptoms of women experiencing, those symptoms I've talked about. But that, you should only take this kind of food or this fruit and the fibroid will disappear. That is actually not true, okay? These are the myths that I have decided to take my time to break about fibroid. I hope that you were able to get something from it. So why not share this with people? So don't judge generally by what you've heard from people. Always speak to your healthcare provider. Always get information from the right sources like this one. All right. Now, let me talk about recent advances in treatment of uterine fibroid. There is a medication that's been repurposed now by a pharmaceutical company in Korea to treat uterine fibroids, okay? It is called Merigolix, and it's a once daily drug that is taken orally for the treatment of fibroids. In a 12-week study involving 71 women, all dosing groups achieved statistically significant reduction in heavy menstrual bleeding when this medication was given to them. Also, there was improvement in fibroid size, that is, it shrunk, the hemoglobin levels improved, and the pelvic pain also improved. So this therapy is being developed concurrently for fibroids, endometriosis, and also for assisted reproductive technology. There is another one, which is a non-hormonal oral therapy, which has been developed by Altin Biosciences and has been granted a US patent because it's a first-in-class botanical drug candidate. That is a natural therapy that has some herbal extracts combined with some compounds in green tea, known for its anti-inflammatory properties. This combination is being studied as potential alternative for managing fibroid symptoms, and it's in trial. It has shown reduction in fibroid volume and menstrual bleeding as well. Also, there are newer minimally invasive surgical advancements, okay? There are many companies that are working together to do this, to remove complex fibroids without having to create too much incision. This helps to provide more targeted treatment while minimizing tissue disruption and fertility impact. There are non-invasive options also for treatment of fibroids. There is the one called Sonata system, which was developed by a pharmaceutical company called Gynesonics. It was cleared by the FDA in 2018, and it uses radio frequency energy so that there is no incision at all, and the fibroid is removed without cutting into the patient. So these are the current advances in fibroid care from the medications from herbal sources to the non-invasive option for surgery to non-hormonal therapy and to the repurposed hormonal medication, and lastly to the minimally invasive surgical advancements. You see that science is trying its best all the time to better treat these conditions so that fibroid will no longer be something to endure, the pain and all of that, and it will not disrupt the life of most women. Talking about fertility, heavy menstrual bleeding and all of that. I believe that these medications will soon get into the market, hopefully, and will be affordable for a lot of people. And these non-invasive methods of surgery as well could actually be harnessed, to help those that may be scared to go under the knife. And remember the statistics that say that 70% of surgeries carried out on women for fibroids are actually not necessary. So you could save yourself the money and the emotional stress of undergoing a surgery. That is what I have for you on today's episode of the Global Health Pharmacist podcast. Okay, so do not forget to share, to like, to subscribe to the podcast. Please follow on social media, on all social media handles from X to TikTok to Facebook to Instagram. We are there. All right, so you too, please subscribe and listen to the podcast. Sharing is caring, right? So do not forget to share. I have to say that again, because all of this information are actually for your health. And like I always say, health is wealth. So I wish you once again a beautiful week ahead. Do not forget to send your questions, comments, whatever it is you want to tell me, to my mail at globalhealthpharmacistpodcast@gmail.com. You can use the old mail as well, antipharmacistpodcast@gmail.com. I'll be sure to reply you. Also in the DMs, please, you can do that as well. Send your questions, comments under the YouTube page or on Spotify or in the DMs on social media. Okay, and please, for those that are using Apple Podcasts, do not forget to leave your review. Those stars, just click the last one. That's the 5th star. Thank you. And I'll see my 5 star just glowing at me. I would love that. Thank you once again for staying with me up to this point. Till next time, stay healthy and God bless you. Bye.